Hey V's, I'm Marie from Humblebee and Me, and today we're talking about mega concoctions. So I want to tell you a story about when I first got into DIYing, and I suspect it's probably going to sound familiar to a bunch of you. So I was relatively new to the hobby. I'd sort of dipped my toes in a little bit. I had some simpler ingredients, some beeswax, some almond oil, some cocoa butter. And then I found the New Directions website, and oh my lord, that's basically a black hole of excitement and wonder and possibilities. And so I'm going through this wonderful black hole and I'm reading about all these magical sounding carrier oils and essential oils and botanical extracts. And so I fill up my shopping cart and then I, look at the price, go, and then I whittle it down and then I fill it up again. And eventually I get to a point where I place an order and I'm so excited. And so when this order shows up, for me personally, it was full of all of these magical oils that I had read were going to cure my acne and brighten my complexion and just yes! And so the first thing that I did is I made a mega concoction. I was like, I'm gonna make a lotion and it's gonna have all these amazing oils in it. It's gonna have all these incredible essential oils in it and it's gonna be great. The last part, dubious. Everything else was true. Yes, it did have a lot of things in it, but the great part, I ended up making a absolutely monstrous batch of something that smelled disgusting. Like that essential oil blend. Oh, yes, sure, it had everything in it, but oh, no, not a good thing, man. And because I wanted to use so many different ingredients, I'd ended up making this huge batch so that I could actually weigh out the ingredients, and it wasn't just like 2 drops of this, 2 drops of that, 0.001 grams of each oil. So imagine just this huge batch of lotion. And it was gross, and I had so much of it, but because it had so many expensive ingredients in it, I didn't want to throw it away. And so I basically just muscled through using this appalling concoction for months and months and months. Right? Okay, so does that sound familiar? Have you ever gotten a bunch of new ingredients and been like, I'm gonna make all the things with just a giant... And then maybe regretted it later? So yeah, I wanted to talk today about why massive jumbo concoctions are not a great way to get to know your ingredients. I totally understand the urge to make something that uses all of your new ingredients or all of your favorite things or a ton of stuff that's all supposed to be really good for your skin, because what could go wrong, right? Like if ingredients A through Z are great, then a full-on alphabet balm or lotion or serum should be awesome, right? One of my readers had a really good analogy for this. She basically said her daughter went and mixed all of her favorite colors of paint together, and instead of that making an extra beautiful color of paint, it made poo color. So I thought that was a pretty good analogy. Another good one is thinking about cooking. You wouldn't take all of your favorite foods and put them into one stew. You would think about maybe what goes well together, because for instance, I really like mandarin oranges, I really like chocolate, I enjoy mashed potatoes, sweet potatoes are also great, Tim Tams are delicious, so is cheese, so is ketchup, so is mustard. I'm not gonna make some sort of absolutely repugnant concoction with all the foods I enjoy, right? I'm going to sort of step back and think, maybe, just maybe, I shouldn't combine mandarin oranges and mustard. Perhaps maybe, though, mandarin oranges and cake could be good. The problem with making a super jumbo concoction when you first get a bunch of new ingredients is that you don't actually get to know the individual components of your super jumbo concoction. And when you don't know the individual components, you really don't know what anything is doing or why it's working or why it's not working. This sort of jumbo concoction mentality is how I came to own a bottle of evening primrose oil for 2 years before discovering that it was absolutely amazing for my skin. If I'd actually ever worked with it one-on-one, or even just sort of as part of maybe a 2 or 3 ingredient thing instead of as part of a 22 ingredient thing, I would have actually got to know something about evening primrose oil. But when you're just putting a little tiny bit of it into this massive concoction, you just don't ever really get to know your ingredients. I somewhat frequently hear from readers who are new to this who have made themselves some sort of a facial serum, often for acne or for anti-aging or for rosacea or for some sort of condition, something that they're trying to address, a problem they're trying to solve. And so they will have gone out and bought a bunch of carrier oils and essential oils that are sort of reputed to address whatever this issue is. And then they will have mixed them all together and made this thing that they've been putting on their skin. And then they'll come to me and say, hey, I make a balm with these things in it, or a serum with these things in it, and it's not working. Can you tell me why? No, I can't. There's like 15 different ingredients in there, which means there's a ton of different variables. It could be that ingredient 1 on its own might have solved the problem for you, but because you have ingredient 3 in there, your skin is reacting negatively to it, so they're kind of canceling each other out. Could be that ingredient 2 really isn't doing anything and it's negating the awesome effects that ingredient 5 would have if you were using it at higher concentrations. It's really, really, really hard for me to say, and it's basically impossible for you to say because you don't know anything about these individual ingredients because you've just put them all together into this massive project that, you know, should have been amazing, but it's pretty hard to get to amazing when you don't know anything about any of the ingredients from working with them firsthand. So, my advice, and I don't think you're going to like this if you're impatient, because I know I definitely did not follow this advice when I first got started, but it's get to know your ingredients individually. This will not only save you a lot of money on your ingredients because you won't be sort of wasting them in gigantic concoctions that are often mediocre at best, but you'll just know so much more about what your skin likes. So much of making your own skincare is doing what your skin likes, so you gotta figure out what that is first, right? Now, I'm not trying to tell you that you can't make stuff with lots of ingredients in it. That's not the point at all. But you just can't get to know stuff in products like that. Think of it like a party full of people you've never met. You'll get to sort of get a feel for everybody. You might recognize that guy next time you saw him, but would you remember his name? Would you have had an in-depth conversation with him about his hopes and dreams? Probably not, right? You get to know people, typically speaking, much better in like a one-on-one setting or in small group settings rather than like me and 500 of my closest friends. You can absolutely make concoctions with lots of ingredients in it, but I would encourage you to get to know all of those ingredients on their own or in a small group setting before throwing them into a massive flash mob ball dance? Yeah. As you're getting to know your ingredients, something else you should get to know is their recommended usage rates. A lot of carrier oils and butters are like 0 to 100. You can use them at full strength if you want. But a lot of botanical extracts, vitamins, essential oils, these things have a maximum recommended usage rate. So when you're making a body butter, using 100 different oils to make that body butter is pretty unnecessary. But if you're making a lotion and you want to include a bunch of different like vitamins or humectants and extracts, the types of things that you would typically use at 1 to 2%, you can use obviously a lot more of those ingredients simply because they're effective at 1 to 2% of the recipe, and you'll notice their inclusion at 1 to 2% of the recipe, as opposed to if you include 1% argan oil in a recipe, that's kind of a why bother situation. So that's another reason why you should just get to know your ingredients, get to know what they do and in what concentrations they do it at. All right, so that's my spiel on why super mega concoctions are not the greatest way to dive into things. I would love to hear about your super mega concoction sort of experiences in the comments below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe. These are good, I hear. And yeah, I will see you next time.